Listen closely. Positivity isn't just a nice word. It's not just about smiling when life hurts. It's not about faking happiness. Positivity is power. It is the engine that turns pain into purpose, setbacks into setups, and obstacles into opportunities. And if you master this, your life will never be the same. Every single morning, before your feet even touch the ground, life presents you with a decision. You may not realize it, but that moment, that quiet second, when your eyes first open, is the battleground where your day is won or lost. Positivity is not something that just happens to you. It's not some random emotion floating through the air, waiting to land in your chest. It is a choice, deliberate and intentional. You can wake up and let yesterday's pain bleed into today, or you can wake up and declare, "Today I decide to shift. Today I decide to see the light in the middle of the shadows. Today I choose positivity." That decision is not small. It is monumental. Because one decision at the beginning of your day becomes the foundation for 1,000 decisions that follow. And when you start with negativity, you spiral downward without even knowing it. But when you start with positivity, when you anchor your day in strength, gratitude, and possibility, you rise, and nothing can hold you back. You see, people think positivity is passive. They think it's just plastering a smile over your pain. But positivity is not denial, it's defiance. It is standing in the face of struggle and saying, "You will not have me." It's looking at hardship and declaring, "I will not break here." That's not weakness. That's power. Choosing positivity is choosing to take control of your perspective, and perspective is everything. Perspective changes the meaning of events. And when the meaning changes, the outcome changes. Two people can live through the same storm, but one comes out bitter and broken, while the other comes out wiser and stronger. The difference isn't the storm, it's the choice they made in how to see it. And that choice, my friend, belongs to you every single day. Life will never stop handing you pain, but you can stop handing that pain the power to dictate your future. Negativity wants to enslave you. It wants you to believe that you are powerless, that you are stuck, that you are at the mercy of everything around you. And many people fall into that trap because negativity doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It seeps into your language, your habits, your thoughts until suddenly, without even realizing it, you've built a life shaped by defeat. But here's the truth. Negativity cannot survive where positivity has been chosen. When you decide to look for possibility, when you decide to speak gratitude, when you decide to see beyond your pain, negativity has no soil to grow in. And it's not about pretending the problems aren't there. It's about deciding that the problems don't get to own you. It's about making the conscious choice to rise, even when it's easier to sink. That's the kind of strength people underestimate until they try it for themselves. The most dangerous lie you can believe is that positivity is out of your hands, that it depends on how much money you make, what kind of people surround you, or what circumstances life throws your way. That is false. Positivity is not given, it is chosen. You can be broke and positive. You can be heartbroken and positive. You can be tired, exhausted, stretched thin, and still choose to stand on positivity. And when you do, you will find that positivity brings with it a strength that money cannot buy, a resilience that comfort cannot give, a peace that circumstances cannot shake. This is why people who have nothing can still radiate joy, while those who have everything can still live in despair. Because positivity is not about possession, it's about perception. It's about how you see yourself, how you see the world, and ultimately, how you see your future. But don't think for a moment that this choice will be easy. Positivity is a battle. Negativity screams louder, it spreads faster, and it feels easier because it feeds on fear. Choosing positivity requires discipline. It requires you to train your mind the same way an athlete trains their body. You don't build a strong body overnight, and you don't build a positive mind in a single day either. It takes repetition. It takes a conscious choice, moment by moment, to shift your focus. When your mind wants to dwell on what went wrong, positivity says, look at what went right. When your thoughts want to obsess over what you don't have, positivity says, be grateful for what you do. And over time, that choice becomes your habit. That habit becomes your mindset. And that mindset becomes your life. You stop being a slave to your emotions and start being a master of your reality. That's the power of choosing positivity. Not once, not sometimes, but daily, relentlessly, until it becomes who you are. And here's the beauty of it. When you choose positivity, you don't just change yourself. You change the world around you. Your choice sets the tone in your home, in your relationships, in your workplace. People feel the energy you carry before you even speak. You walk into a room with negativity, and you drain the life out of it. You walk in with positivity, and you breathe life into it. Your choice becomes contagious. It spreads without effort. That means every time you choose positivity, you're not just shaping your day. You're shaping someone else's. You're influencing the way your children see life, the way your friends handle challenges, the way your team performs under pressure. Your single choice ripples outward, transforming environments, rewriting atmospheres, and planting seeds of hope in places where despair once lived. That's the weight of your decision. That's the reach of your choice. And it all begins when you decide, today, right now, that positivity is no longer an option. It's your way of life. Energy is invisible, but it is undeniable. You can't see it with your eyes. Yet you feel it the moment you step into a room. Think about it. There are people whose very presence makes you feel heavy. They don't even have to open their mouths, but the atmosphere around them feels dim, suffocating, lifeless. And then there are people whose presence lights you up. Just being around them makes you breathe easier, stand taller, dream bigger. That is not an accident. That is energy. And energy is contagious. When you choose positivity, you're not just altering your own mind. You're shifting the frequency of every room you enter, every conversation you touch, every person you encounter. People may forget your words, but they will never forget how your energy made them feel. That is why your choice of positivity matters. Because your energy doesn't stay with you. It leaks, it spreads, it multiplies. Human beings are wired for connection. Our brains literally mirror the emotions of those around us. Scientists call it emotional contagion, but you don't need science to prove it. You've lived it. You've walked into a workplace where one negative person poisoned the whole team, where gossip and bitterness spread like wildfire until nobody wanted to be there. And you've also experienced the opposite. A leader who walked in with fire in their eyes and belief in their voice. And suddenly, everyone's energy lifted. That's the power of contagious positivity. When you smile in the middle of stress, when you speak life in the middle of chaos, you shift the atmosphere. And don't underestimate that shift. Sometimes it's the difference between someone quitting or holding on, between someone giving up or pushing through. Your positivity could be the spark that keeps someone else's light from going out. But here's what most people don't realize. Negativity is the default. It takes no effort to complain. It takes no effort to criticize, to assume the worst, to spread doubt. That's why negativity is everywhere. But positivity is rare because it requires strength. It requires intention. And because it's rare, it's powerful. People are starving for it, whether they admit it or not. They are desperate for hope, for encouragement, for a reminder that they're still good in the world. And when they encounter someone who radiates genuine positivity, they don't just notice, they gravitate toward it. That's why positive people often become leaders without even trying. Their energy pulls people in. Their optimism creates trust. Their light becomes irresistible in a world where so many are walking in darkness. And that is why your choice matters. Not just for you, but for the people who are secretly waiting for your light to show them the way. Think about the environments you're in. Your home, your friendships, your workplace, your community. Every one of them is shaped by the energy people bring. Negativity builds walls. It creates suspicion, tension, and distance. But positivity builds bridges. It fosters connection, collaboration, and belonging. A positive word at the right time can heal wounds years deep. A positive outlook in the face of hardship can rally teams to victory when defeat seems certain. A positive spirit in a family can break generational cycles of bitterness and pain. Never underestimate how far your energy can travel. You may think your positivity is small, just a smile, just a word, just a shift in perspective. But to someone else, it may be the lifeline they've been praying for. And that's why positivity must be chosen with conviction, because its reach is far greater than you could ever measure. The truth is, you're either spreading life or spreading death. You're either lifting people up or pulling them down. There is no neutral. Every interaction leaves a residue. Every conversation deposits something. The question is, what are you leaving behind? Are you the storm cloud in the room, or are you the sunlight breaking through? Are you the person who makes others dread your presence, or the one they can't wait to see again? When you choose positivity, you become a multiplier. You multiply hope, multiply courage, multiply strength in every person you meet. And here's the secret. You don't have to be perfect to do this. You don't need a flawless life. You don't need endless resources. All you need is the will to bring light instead of darkness, to bring solutions instead of problems, to bring faith instead of fear. That choice is what separates the person who drains life from the person who gives it. And when you live this way, your impact doesn't stop with the people in front of you. Positivity creates a chain reaction. The encouragement you give your child today will echo in the way they treat their classmates tomorrow. The hope you breathe into your coworker today will ripple in the way they show up for their family at night. The love you give to a stranger in passing might inspire them to treat the next stranger with kindness instead of cruelty. Your positivity outlives the moment. It multiplies into the future. That is the real legacy of energy. It spreads further than your words, deeper than your actions, lasting far longer than you'll ever see. So when you choose positivity, remember this, you're not just choosing it for yourself. You're choosing it for every soul you'll ever touch, every heart you'll ever influence, every life that will be shaped by the energy you carried. Your brain is not fixed. It is not locked into the patterns of thought that have shaped your past. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every story you replay in your mind is wiring and rewiring the very structure of your brain. Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity. But you don't need a science textbook to understand it. You've lived it. Think about the times when you repeated a lie about yourself so many times that it started to feel true. Think about the times when fear, doubt, and negativity took root in your mind, and before you knew it, they became your default response to every challenge. That is wiring. But here's the good news. Just as your brain was wired to expect the worst, it can be rewired to expect the best. Positivity is not wishful thinking. It is not naive hope. It is the deliberate practice of shaping your brain, training your focus, and reprogramming your thoughts until your entire mind begins to see possibility instead of limitation. Every thought you choose fires a network in your brain. When you choose negativity, when you complain, when you replay past failures, when you imagine the worst, you are strengthening the neural pathways of fear and defeat. And the more you travel those pathways, the more natural they feel. That's why it's so easy to sink into doubt and so hard to climb out. But positivity builds new highways. Gratitude, hope, faith, encouragement. These are not just emotional states. They are neurological exercises. Every time you choose to focus on what's good, every time you choose to believe in possibility, you are literally rewiring your brain towards strength, resilience, and optimism. Over time, those positive pathways become stronger, faster, easier to access. What once felt forced becomes natural. What once felt fake becomes automatic. And suddenly, you're not struggling to think positive. You simply are positive because your brain has been trained to run on a new default. This is why people who live in gratitude seem lighter. It's why people who believe in possibility carry a different presence. Their brains have been conditioned to respond with hope, where others respond with fear. And it doesn't happen overnight. Just like lifting weights builds muscle, practicing positivity builds new mental strength. The first time you shift a negative thought into a positive one, it feels hard. The second time, still awkward. The 100th time, easier. The 1000th time, automatic. Your brain is always listening to the story you tell it. If you tell it that life is unfair, it will find proof of unfairness everywhere. If you tell it that opportunity exists, it will spot doors you never noticed before. Your focus trains your brain, and your brain shapes your reality. That is why positivity is not optional. It is essential if you want to create a life of purpose and power. Understand this. Negativity is addictive. It floods your brain with chemicals that make you feel temporarily justified, temporarily validated, temporarily safe in your pessimism. But it is poison. It conditions your brain to shrink, to doubt, to retreat. Positivity, on the other hand, is like fuel. It generates dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, the very chemicals that enhance focus, motivation, and connection. This is not just spiritual truth, it is biological truth. Your body, your energy, your health are all impacted by the way your brain is wired. Train it to dwell on negativity, and you invite stress, anxiety, and disease. Train it to dwell on positivity, and you cultivate peace, creativity, and longevity. The mind and the body are not separate, they are one. And when you rewire your brain with positivity, your entire life begins to follow suit. The most powerful part of this truth is that you are not a prisoner to your old wiring. Some of you grew up in environments soaked in negativity. You were taught to expect failure, taught to believe you weren't enough, taught to see the world through fear. And maybe those pathways feel permanent, but they're not. Your brain can change. You can rewire the way you think. And when you rewire the way you think, you rewire the way you live. It starts small, choosing gratitude when you'd rather complain, choosing hope when fear feels easier, choosing belief when doubt screams louder. Each choice is a signal to your brain. Each act of positivity is a brick laid on a new pathway. Keep laying those bricks long enough, and soon you've built a highway of resilience, optimism, and strength. You're not stuck with the brain you had yesterday. You can build the brain you need for tomorrow. And here's what happens when you live with a rewired brain. You stop reacting and you start creating. You stop being controlled by the past and you start shaping the future. Opportunities that once slipped past you suddenly become visible. Solutions that once seemed impossible begin to unfold. Your energy changes, your decisions change, your relationships change because your perception has changed. And all of it traces back to the rewiring of your mind. Positivity doesn't just change how you feel. It changes who you are, how you show up, and what you attract. It is the software upgrade your life has been waiting for. And the moment you embrace it, everything begins to transform from the inside out. Life will test you. It will knock you down harder than you ever imagined. It will throw storms at you when you're already drowning, trials when you're already tired, and heartbreak when your soul is already raw. That is the reality of existence. Nobody escapes it. But here's the difference. Some people collapse under the weight, while others rise with a force that cannot be explained. What makes the difference? It isn't talent. It isn't money. It isn't luck. The difference is resilience. The ability to bend but not break, to stumble but not shatter, to be wounded but still walk forward. And what fuels that resilience? Positivity. Because when everything around you is screaming, "Give up," positivity whispers, "Not yet." When circumstances tell you it's over, positivity tells you, "This is just the middle of your story." That mindset doesn't erase the pain, but it gives you the strength to keep moving through it. Negativity makes people fragile. It convinces them that failure is final, that rejection is proof of worthlessness, that hardship is the end. And when you believe those lies, every challenge becomes a wall you cannot climb. But positivity transforms walls into doors. It allows you to see setbacks as lessons, rejection as redirection, and pain as preparation. That is resilience. Not the absence of suffering, but the presence of strength in suffering. Resilience doesn't mean you don't cry. It doesn't mean you don't feel the pain. It means you refuse to let the pain define you. And positivity is what fuels that refusal. It gives you a reason to believe there is something beyond the storm, something beyond the heartbreak, something worth fighting for even when it hurts. Without positivity, resilience dies. With it, resilience thrives. Think of the greatest comebacks in history. Athletes who came back from devastating injuries, leaders who rose from humiliating failures, visionaries who turned rejection into revolutions. What do they all have in common? They refused to let negativity take root. They held on to the belief that the story wasn't over. That belief, that positivity, is what carried them through the darkness when logic said there was no way forward. Resilience is not born in comfort. It is born in conflict. And in that conflict, positivity is the fuel that keeps the fire burning. Without it, you stay down. With it, you rise again and again until rising becomes who you are. Understand this. Resilience is not about bouncing back to who you were before. It's about bouncing forward into someone stronger, wiser, and tougher than you ever imagined. And positivity is the force that allows you to see growth in the middle of chaos. Without positivity, all you see is the loss. With it, you see the lesson. Without positivity, all you feel is the wound. With it, you see the wisdom the wound is teaching you. That shift in perspective changes everything. Suddenly, failure is no longer a graveyard, it is a classroom. Pain is no longer a punishment, it is a teacher. Struggle is no longer a prison, it is a forge refining your strength. That is what resilience is, the ability to turn what was meant to break you into what builds you. And positivity is the key that unlocks that transformation. But don't think resilience means you will always feel strong. There will be moments when your knees buckle, when your spirit trembles, when you wonder if you can endure one more step. And in those moments, positivity doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers reminders that storms end, that wounds heal, that seasons change. It whispers that what feels permanent today will be temporary tomorrow. And sometimes that whisper is all you need to keep moving. Resilience is not about giant leaps forward. Sometimes it's about crawling 1 inch at a time. And positivity is what gives you the courage to take that inch. Without it, you stay frozen in fear. With it, you inch forward until forward becomes momentum, and momentum becomes breakthrough. And here's the beauty of resilience fueled by positivity. It doesn't just protect you, it inspires others. When people watch you rise after failure, when they see you endure storms with hope, when they witness your scars turn into strength, they are reminded that they too can survive their storms. Your resilience becomes a blueprint. Your positivity becomes a torch lighting the path for those still trapped in the dark. And suddenly, your personal strength becomes a collective strength. Your choice to remain positive not only fuels your own resilience, but ignites resilience in others. That is the ripple effect of a positive mind. It doesn't just change your story, it gives others permission to fight for theirs. Every problem that enters your life comes with 2 doors. One door leads to defeat, despair, and hopelessness. The other leads to creativity, opportunity, and growth. The problem itself doesn't decide which door you walk through. Your mindset does. Negativity stares at the problem and says, "This is the end." Positivity looks at the same problem and says, "This could be the beginning." That is the difference between people who crumble and people who create. Positivity does not deny the existence of a problem. It simply refuses to stop at the surface of it. It digs deeper. It asks better questions. It searches for meaning and opportunity that others are too blind to see. And because of that, what crushes one person becomes the fuel for another. The exact same problem that drowns one life can build another into greatness. The difference is not the problem, it's the perspective. When you approach life through negativity, every obstacle looks like a dead end. You convince yourself the door is locked, the road is blocked, and the mountain is impossible to climb. That's why negativity paralyzes so many people. They waste energy fighting the existence of the problem, instead of searching for the possibilities it contains. Positivity flips that script. Positivity says, yes, the problem is real, but so is the solution. Yes, the challenge is heavy, but so is my capacity to rise. That mental shift doesn't erase the difficulty, but it awakens creativity. It forces your brain to think differently, to innovate, to look for angles others overlook. Many of the world's greatest inventions, breakthroughs, and victories were born in moments of desperation. Because someone chose positivity instead of surrender. They refused to call it the end. They chose to see a possibility disguised as a problem. Look at history. Time and time again, progress has been born out of difficulty. The airplane came from the problem of human limitation. The light bulb came from the problem of darkness. Medicine came from the problem of disease. Breakthroughs always start with problems, but only those who choose positivity have the vision to see beyond the limitation. Where others complain, they create. Where others quit, they innovate. Where others see impossibility, they see possibility. That's the power of a positive mind. It refuses to stop at no. It pushes until it finds the yes hiding inside the obstacle. And this is not limited to world-changing inventions. It applies to your personal life. Every struggle you face, every setback you encounter, every door that closes in your face carries with it the seed of something new. The question is whether you'll let negativity bury that seed or positivity water it until it grows. Positivity turns problems into training grounds. Instead of asking, why me? It asks, what is this preparing me for? Every problem has within it a skill you need, a lesson you must learn, a strength you must build. Negativity blinds you to that growth. It keeps you so focused on the pain that you miss the preparation. But positivity recognizes that problems are not punishments. They are pathways. They refine you, shape you, and stretch you into the person you must become to step into your next level. Think about it. Every strong leader, every resilient soul, every courageous innovator was forged in the fire of problems. Without the fire, they never would have discovered their strength. Positivity is what allows you to stand in the fire and say, this will not destroy me, this will develop me. And that shift turns the very thing meant to break you into the very thing that builds you. The most dangerous lie negativity tells you is that problems are permanent. That once something goes wrong, it will always go wrong. That once you're stuck, you'll never move again. But positivity calls that bluff. It reminds you that every storm has an ending. Every night gives way to morning. Every setback has the potential to lead to a comeback. Problems are temporary, but the strength you gain from them can be permanent. Positivity allows you to hold on to hope while you're in the struggle. It allows you to see beyond the temporary pain and hold on to the possibility of future victory. And that vision is what keeps you moving when everything in you wants to stop. The problem doesn't shrink, but your faith grows bigger. The challenge doesn't disappear, but your creativity expands. The weight doesn't lighten, but your back becomes stronger. That's the transformation positivity creates. It doesn't remove the problem, it redefines it. And the most powerful part of all this is that when you learn to see problems as possibilities, you become unstoppable. Life no longer terrifies you because you understand that even the worst challenges carry hidden gifts. You stop dreading problems and start embracing them as opportunities in disguise. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as a creator of solutions. And once you adopt that perspective, your entire approach to life changes. You walk with confidence because you know nothing is wasted. You face difficulties with boldness because you know there's gold buried inside them. You stop shrinking back and start leaning in because positivity has taught you this unshakable truth. Problems are not the end of the road, they are the beginning of a new one. Performance is not just about skill. It's not just about talent, knowledge, or resources. Those matter, but they are not the deciding factor between mediocrity and mastery. What truly determines performance is the mindset you bring into the arena. A negative mindset sabotages performance before the game even begins. It convinces you that you are unprepared, unworthy, incapable. It drains your energy, clouds your focus, and poisons your confidence. But a positive mindset multiplies everything you already have. It sharpens focus, strengthens confidence, and elevates execution. It is the difference between an athlete who collapses under pressure and one who thrives under it, between a leader who crumbles when tested and one who rises to inspire others. Positivity doesn't just make you feel better, it makes you perform better. It becomes a force that pushes your natural abilities to levels you never imagined possible. Negativity narrows your vision. It makes you obsess over what can go wrong, which keeps you from seeing what can go right. That fear paralyzes action. You hesitate, you doubt, you second guess, and in that hesitation, opportunities vanish. Positivity does the opposite. It expands your vision. It allows you to focus not on the fear of failure, but on the possibility of success. That shift in focus opens doors. It gives you permission to take risks, to innovate, to move forward with boldness. And boldness creates results. Some of the greatest performers in history didn't succeed because they were the most talented. They succeeded because positivity gave them the courage to act when others froze. They believed it was possible, so they moved forward with full force. And that belief amplified their performance until it looked like talent. The truth is, belief is more powerful than skill, and positivity feeds belief. Think about the environments where performance thrives: teams, workplaces, creative spaces, even families. Negativity suffocates performance in these spaces. It kills collaboration, drains energy, and reduces trust. Nobody performs at their best when they feel criticized, belittled, or unsupported. But positivity changes the entire culture. It builds trust, fuels encouragement, and creates space for people to take risks without fear of humiliation. When people feel supported, when they feel believed in, when they feel valued, their performance explodes. That's why positivity is not just a personal tool. It's a leadership weapon. Leaders who speak life into their teams unleash potential. Teachers who believe in their students unlock brilliance. Parents who affirm their children cultivate confidence. Positivity creates the kind of environment where excellence becomes not the exception, but the expectation. Performance is also directly tied to resilience under pressure. The truth is, no one performs perfectly when everything is easy. Real performance shows up when the stakes are high, when the spotlight is on, when failure feels close. In those moments, negativity destroys. It makes you choke under the weight of expectation. But positivity steadies you. It calms your nerves. It sharpens your focus. It reminds you of your preparation, your strength, your worth. Positivity keeps your mind clear so your body can execute. It transforms pressure into fuel instead of fear. That's why athletes visualize success. Why professionals practice gratitude before big meetings. Why leaders carry affirmations into high-stress situations. They understand that the brain follows focus, and positivity provides the focus that performance demands. Without it, even the most talented crumble. With it, even the average rise above expectations. And here's where positivity amplifies performance most powerfully: it builds consistency. Negativity drains energy, and when your energy is gone, your performance becomes inconsistent. You might have one good day, but the next day you collapse. You start strong, but you burn out fast. Positivity, on the other hand, sustains energy. It keeps you going, not just once, but over and over again. It gives you the endurance to keep showing up with excellence day after day, long after others have quit. And consistency always beats intensity. You don't need to be the most gifted if you can outlast the competition. That's what positivity does. It keeps you in the game longer. It keeps your energy alive. It keeps your focus sharp, and over time, that consistency builds greatness. Greatness isn't built in a moment. It's built in repetition. And positivity makes that repetition possible. Finally, positivity doesn't just amplify your performance. It multiplies the performance of those around you. Your energy is contagious. If you show up negative, you drag everyone else down with you. But if you show up positive, you elevate the entire room. That elevation creates a collective momentum where everyone begins to operate above their normal level. Teams win championships because positivity unites them. Businesses break records because positivity fuels innovation. Communities rise because positivity spreads hope. Your performance, fueled by positivity, doesn't just benefit you. It benefits everyone who crosses your path. And that is how individuals become leaders, how leaders create movements, and how movements transform the world.